termed them puffer. It comes from the German word Puffer, and they have this rather large ball on the end of the butt. The purpose of that has been debated. In years gone by, they used to think that perhaps it was for banging somebody over the head with. I think that's rather off the mark. I think it served two purposes: as a slight counterbalance to the weight of the barrel. There's a certain amount of weight there. But basically they were carried in holsters, often on horseback. And if you were drawing it out of a holster, your hand couldn't slip off the back, particularly if you were wearing perhaps a gauntlet or even a heavy leather glove. That's why the trigger guards on these early pistols are often particularly large, so that you could get a gloved hand through. It's a walnut stock that's been inlaid with all these swirly-whirlies of staghorn. This dates around 1590. The stock is possibly by a man called Klaus Hirt. He has a lot of this type of stockwork ascribed to him. And this is one of the earliest forms of ignition. This is where you have iron pyrites held in the jaws of the dog, which is lowered down onto the wheel. The wheel spins when you pull the trigger, and there's a sort of half-second delay before it actually fires. It's quite fun to fire a wheel lock. I wouldn't want to do it too often because it's a lot of hard work. You've got to clean the thing so carefully afterwards. It's almost male jewellery. It's proclaiming the owner's wealth, a reflection of his status in society, that he owned a pistol as smart as that. Halberds, pikes, suits of armour. We have everything basically from perhaps the Viking period right through to the middle of the 19th century. And more today, I'm dealing in much more armour, many more suits of armour, more swords, more daggers than actually firearms per se. Just happens, I suppose things fluctuate, things come in waves and ebbs, and at the moment there are more buyers for perhaps things that can be hung in a modern setting. And a sword, perhaps, just hanging by itself can have terrific sculptural impact, as can armour, of course. Armour basically is sculpture. You know, whether it's a great helmet or a full suit, some of these things are amazingly aesthetically satisfying. This is another item which really one has to term male jewellery. This is a small sword. The French call them épée de vie, i.e. a town sword, worn at the hip. And again, really not with any real purpose. No one's actually going to fight with it. This is all made of cut steel. It's either made in Woodstock in Oxfordshire or in Birmingham by the Matthew Bolton factory, we don't know which. It's got a lovely blued blade, triangular section with decoration up at the top of the blade, and again all in lovely condition underneath. These strips here are individual beads that are actually threaded in on little wires. I've found these in the past where there has been damage, and it's very disappointing when they're damaged. This has actually lost probably a tassel that would have hung from there where that last little bit of thread lies. But it's a marvellous sword. There's a very similar one over the road in the Metropolitan Museum in the collection there.
Up to about the age of 7, I thought everyone had arms and armour in their homes. Of course they don't. And by osmosis, you learn, you know, just by having the things around you. And it got to a stage in my life where I realised that it was something that I kept on going back to, something I was very passionate about and interested in, not only from the aesthetic but also from an academic point of view. So rather than going to university, I sort of got on with it. I worked for another dealer, and it's progressed since then. The sort of dynamic between father and son is always difficult, but it's something we've become great friends, and it's something we share as a passion.